Hey guys, we're back. It's Ted Bogert with the TED Show. I'm here with an old friend. She's not old, we're just old friends. She's amazingly young, can't you tell? Dr. Kris Sargent is back with us. I'm super excited to have her back. She's an amazing individual, always has been, and she's got this whole movement, and she's got this podcast, and we're going to talk about how to spark faith. I love this topic. I want to talk about faith. I think people love that word, faith and spark together. Lots to talk about. Welcome back, Kris. How are you today?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me on today. This is going to be so
You-
much fun. I love the last time we were together, and this is just, I
We
don't know,
got
it just
lots of
works.
amazing comments on when we were on together. I think the message that you put out there is so positive,
Ah, and I don't know what happened. Hello? Hi.
oh, there's Ted Bogert. I don't know where the other Ted Bogert is, but
What happened? Hey,
I'm
I'm like, oh my God. No, not
day.
now. What
I'm
happened?
glad you stuck with us. So that's the positivity I'm
Me?
talking about.
Yes,
But
I blew up the internet already.
you did. I can't imagine why all of a sudden, for the first time ever, I'm kicked out of StreamYard. But I think that your message, I believe your message is very positive, but you give people real tools to work with. And so I want to take a deep dive. But before we do that, for those people who haven't tuned in before, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. My name is Dr. Kris Sargent. My background and my educational background is I'm a chiropractor. Please don't hold that against me. Um, I have practiced functional medicine for close to 30 years. Everybody's like, well, what the heck is that? I basically make your body function the way it was supposed to, the way God put it together. We do all kinds of trashy things to our body, and then we wonder why it's not working right. And we get all, right?
So true.
Right? It's
It's
like
so true,
trashing.
right? I think we're amazed that it eventually catches up to us. You know, when we're younger,
Right?
we think we're invincible. We can eat anything we want. We'll never be those old people. And then it slowly starts to creep up on you, and you realize I shouldn't be putting all of that crap into my body. I need to figure out how to take care of me.
Exactly. Just said it. And that is exactly what we do in functional medicine is we start to unwind everything that we wound into over time. And so eat, drink, move, sleep, think, and feel. This mental, emotional piece is so underserved in this country and so underbelieved that our mental and emotional health can impact our body, like
Why
our
do we have a
gut.
hard time believing that? Well, you're right. We do. We don't want to listen to it. We know it's true because we've all experienced stress, and then when we feel it and we see how it manifests itself in our body, we go, "Oh, I must be stressed out." But we don't want to talk about it long term.
Uh-uh. We don't we don't want to talk about feelings. We don't want to talk about emotions. So we are the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, suck it up kind of generations. At least I feel like obviously people older than me, I'm 56. So people older than me definitely have that mindset. And I think a couple of the generations below us, right? Like have that mindset of just suck it up. I'm not going to
Yep.
feel it. I mean, Brene Brown has made an entire career out of creating space for and holding space for um, being vulnerable and crying and understanding the impact that holding all that stuff in does to our bodies. So, yeah, we got to just learn how to feel through all those icky things.
Why do you think we have a hard time feeling? And I know this isn't exactly our topic, but I'm fascinated by this because I have my children's age group is fascinating. They're all 20s. They're in their 20s.
Okay.
And they are not the feely type And I mean, you know me, I'm touchy feely. I love you. I'm going to tell you I love you 1,000 times. And they are like my 3 kids are just not into that. And none of their friends are into that. And it just seems so interesting to me that they don't want to embrace that. Why do we hesitate? Why do we push back so much?
Right. That's a great question. I think that a lot of us feel like, particularly women, I can definitely speak to women. And just so you know, like I have one kid who's a suck it up kid, and I have the other kid who's like totally touchy feely, who actually got me back in touch with my emotions. I mean, God puts our kids in our life for a reason.
Amen.
Yeah. So my daughter definitely dragged me kicking and screaming right into the ability to feel sad and disappointed because I wasn't allowing her to feel it.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is a fascinating story. I'll tell the story and then I'll go back to your question. But one day we were at it. She was 15 at the time, and we were just knocking heads, screaming at each other. And I mean, you know, if you haven't screamed at your children,
you haven't had a teenager yet, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but she started when she was 2, so I don't know. You know, bless you. You must be a saint. Put a halo on, because anyway. So her and I were kind of going at it, and I don't even remember what it was about. Neither does she to this day. But she finally looked at me and she said, "Oh, I know. It was something about her feeling bad or being depressed about some mean girl stuff at school." And she goes, "Well, I'm feeling so sad and depressed." And I'm like, "Just suck it up. You're going to be fine. You know, tighten up your bootstraps, whatever it takes." And she was like, "Mom, you know that sad and disappointed are normal human emotions." And I was like, she goes, "Of all people, you're a doctor. You should know that." And I was like,
it's tough, man, when they hold that mirror up, isn't it?
woo, it hurt. I still get chills and tears. Yeah, and I spent the last couple of years really uncovering what is that about. So back to your question, I mean, a lot of those messages come from our parents, right? I mean, I can nail exactly where mine came from. My mom is definitely the suck it up queen. To this day, she does not want to acknowledge not COVID, acknowledge any sad or disappointed. She just doesn't.
Why? Is it her generation? I think that generation that's a little older than us, that is just what they were trained to do.
It was the depression time. What else is there to do? There was 2 things, right? You had to go with what you knew, right? Yep. Whether you were going to eat or whether you had money or not, and your faith, right?
Yes.
Because in the 30s and 40s, like our faith and church and Christianity, really, if we're honest, was really what our value system was based around.
Right.
And I think that, you know, this whole turn your other cheek kind of thing out of the Bible, like there's so much of that. You know, nobody's going to give you charity. It's not acceptable to accept help.
That's correct. People still feel that way.
And a lot of women just, and this is another piece of my own story, but being able to ask for help and not feel like I'm incompetent.
Yes.
Right.
And I feel like
asking
people, go ahead. I was just going to say, I feel like people, I'm guilty of this. The asking for help takes me, I'm the one that people come to help for. And so when you set yourself up like that, and that becomes your norm, and that's sort of your narrative in your mind, then you releasing that and going, okay, I have to ask somebody for help, is almost more painful than suffering with whatever you're suffering with.
Absolutely.
People don't want to do it. They feel like they'll be judged. They'll be looked at as weak.
Exactly.
Just so much of this stuff that we carry on. But remember, guys, and I'm sure Kris will attest to this, this is this narrative you've created in your own mind.
These right are your stories.
So how do we address that? How do we turn the corner? Because I think a lot of people would feel so much better if they allowed some of that vulnerability in and that feeling into their lives.
So the way it worked for me was I've always been into self-help. I'm also the person that people went to for most of my life. And of course, I took that right into profession. And I think that there's a couple pieces. We have to be willing to look at ourselves. We have to really want to hold that mirror up and to really dig into our own stuff instead of pointing the finger. You know, we've all grown up with the thing, when you point a finger at somebody, you've got four pointing back at you, right? Like, if you're not looking at your own stuff, then you're missing so much of your life. And you're creating drama, and and you don't even understand what that is, because these are the stories you've told yourself. And these are the stories that our subconscious bubbles up to keep us safe.
Yes.
Right? Like, this is ego based. Our ego is not all about bravado. Our ego is about keeping us safe. And safe means not growing. Safe means shrinking. Safe means don't feel. Safe means all your feelings are scary. Like, that's just keeping yourself small instead of really experiencing life. And when we keep ourselves small, the bandwidth of emotions, right, is like, could be this big, but our bandwidth goes down to like nothing. And then we're just numb and we walk around like the zombie apocalypse.
The safe is so important to bring up, because that was my issue, but mine was a little different. Mine was safe from a survival perspective because I grew up in an abusive household. And so I learned how to play it safe and to put up those walls because it was a survival skill. I learned how to do things that would not trigger what was going on in the house. And then you adapt those, and then you begin to develop these skills that you didn't know you had because you were doing it to survive. So the safe thing is totally true. I think people just live in that safe all the time, and it's really not the most healthy place to be.
No, we learn about 95% of that stuff before we're 18 and 50% of it before we're 4. So we're all walking around like someplace between 4 and 10 years old all the time.
That explains a lot for me personally, but
right? Like, your 8-year-old is making decisions for you when you can't help yourself from eating cookies or chips or whatever your eat food thing is. That's your 4-year-old raising its little head going, I want it, but I want it. Right? Yeah. Like, come on, be the adult here. You do not have to live in those stories in your head. And this is not what we were going to talk about at all.
No, so let's because I think this topic's so important. So we'll take the next couple of minutes just to sort of address. Spark Faith is the name of your podcast, correct? And so I love this title because I love both of those words. I'm a man of faith, and I think spark has this beginning, this creativity to it that's so cool. Why that title? Where did that come from? What's the thought process behind it?
So Spark is part of my coaching program, and we can go into what each letter means at another time. But the first part of the S in Spark is all about slowing down. And over the last 2 years, one of the things that you have to do in order to see yourself in the mirror and to hear your stories is slow down. You can keep distracting. You can find, if you're stay-at-home mom, you can find a million projects to do. You can keep doing laundry. You can keep running around. You can put your kids in 4,000 different activities so that you're always crazy and you never have to look at yourself. If you're a working mom, if you're a single mom, like, all of those things, you pick your distractions.
Yes.
And some of them are destructive, right? I mean, okay, let's talk about alcohol. I've had more alcohol conversations this year than ever before. And you know what, this year for me, guilty, right? I'll just lay it out there. But alcohol is one of the drugs and alcohol. What about shopping? The new shoes, the have to look right. Yep. That all plays into those stories that we say. So we have to slow down. So that's the big piece of Spark. And then faith. So I just told you that it took 2 years for me to come through this sad and disappointed and being able to feel and open myself up. And one of the things that I was running from in all of my distraction was God.
We do that.
Yeah, we do that because, again, he puts up a mirror for us and we don't always want to see it. And honestly, I was really angry for the last 8 years. After my divorce, I felt very unprotected and a lot of stuff that we don't need to get into. However, I was really mad at God, and I would let him know on a regular basis how he was just not supporting me. And we had lots of, I also knew deep, deep, deep in my soul that he has big shoulders and that he loves me. But I had to get through the anger piece. And that was some of what I walked through over this last couple of years of angry, sad, disappointed, fearful. A lot of the negative emotions dumped off, but now I get to feel all the happy parts too.
I love that faith is a big part of that, because I think all of us, unless it is your daily job, and even then we struggle with it. We get something that we haven't addressed that's rearing its ugly head from our childhood or our horrible relationships, and we want to blame God, or we don't want to talk about it. We question our faith all the time. I feel like as humans, God must have known that when, because I'm a man of faith, obviously, when he created us, that we would be exactly like this. But it doesn't mean that the struggle isn't there. I just love that word faith, because I think that it has to start fresh every day. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I choose whether I'm gonna have it or not. I mean, I get to choose. And some days I don't feel like sparking faith. I don't even want to hear the word faith or the word spark. I just want to go about, be grumpy, mad, angry, ticked off, whatever I'm feeling, sad, hurt, betrayed. I mean, name it. I'm feeling it. But faith, I'm not feeling any of it. But I'm blaming it. I'm talking about it all day long. I'm certainly talking to God going, what the heck, see? This is why I don't go to church. This is why I don't, all the stuff that we
This is why I'm so mad at you. Yeah, this was me yesterday. This was me yesterday. I had that day yesterday. Like, don't talk to me. I don't feel good. And it wasn't physical.
Right.
It was seriously the 6 inches right here. And I have a little head, so maybe 4. But like, it was right here. It's crazy. So Spark Faith really is my... I dedicate this podcast to God, and I dedicate it to him because he has been asking me to speak on his behalf for about 12 years.
And you went running?
Long time to run. Yeah, I'm a good marathoner.
You must. Why aren't we all, when it comes to that, though, until we're ready? We're going to run as far and as fast and come up with as many reasons and excuses until we are ready.
Until we're ready, or until he has us so pinned into a corner. Right? Until we are so pinned into a corner that we no longer can talk our way out of it, that we can no longer perform our way out of it. I read this awesome book by Joe Saxton. And one of my favorite quotes over the last couple months, and probably 6 months, has been, we cannot perform or present our way out of our brokenness. We cannot perform or present our way out of our brokenness. All the makeup, all the clothes, all the cars, all the BS that we have is just us performing and presenting and putting our happy, perfect lives on display, on social, whatever. And it's all not real, which is the other part of the Spark Faith podcast. Is I clearly am not afraid to share that there are definitely broken parts in my life that I'm working on mending, right? And like, I'm a masterpiece in progress, right? And so it's about bringing those parts of your life that are still in progress and saying, I got this. Anybody else got this? Because I got this. And then you find out that lots of people have it. And so I'm interviewing women and people in general, mostly women. It's kind of my audience. However, maybe you'll be my first guy.
Oh, a dude. You know, I think it's interesting. First of all, I love that quote. I will look that up because I think that we do. We want to talk our way out of it, present our way out of it. We want to do anything to show the
Yeah,
world, no, I'm handling this, or I don't have any
I got
broken
this.
pieces.
I got this.
Uh,
You
we
can take
talk
the day
about this
off.
on the show a lot. It's so important to share this kind of stuff because there are so many people out there looking for it. So when you say that people are running, and they're all of us in some way, shape, or form have been there or are currently there, and so we all have these broken pieces, but we're so afraid to talk about it. I don't know why,
It's the
but
same
when it's
thing.
cathartic to talk about it, it's cathartic to admit to the world you're not perfect, and it's okay to not be perfect.
Right.
You
I
weren't
don't have
built
it
to
all
be
figured
perfect.
out.
You don't. You don't.
Yeah, I don't have it all figured out. And anyone who's on my podcast, that's part of the pre-questions is like, think about one place in your life that you know you really don't have it all figured out, whether it's your marriage, you're having some bumps there, or a relationship, or your faith, or whatever it is. Maybe it's part of your career or your personal, whatever it is, right? You don't have your food figured out. You don't have like that. We all don't have it all figured out all the time. And sometimes when you think you've got it figured out, it's like the plate's spinning, right? You forgot that plate and now it's not spinning and it fell and broke. Like
Happens all the
all
time,
the
and
time.
that's all right. So we're creating this series.
Yes.
I'm here for the ride. Chris has really got the narrative and the mindset and the experience to do this. So we're gonna bring her back. So for those of you who are private messaging me, asking me if this is going to be a series, yeah, we want to. I want to bring Chris's awesome perspective and the fact that neither of us are perfect human beings and willing to talk about it. I think is very cathartic for a lot of people and for us. Don't get it twisted. It is good for both of us to talk about the things. So what's the best way for them to reach you
Yeah.
in between our
Sure.
sessions, Chris? How can they reach you?
Sure. Easy to find. I'm on social, Instagram at Dr. Kris Sargent, DrKrisSargent. And of course, restoreyou.com, my website. You can click on all that. I'm on YouTube. My podcast is on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, kind of everywhere. I should be pretty easy to find.
And we will tag you a million times. I'm so excited you're going to be coming
Great.
back.
And I'll
Thank you for
definitely
sharing
be sharing
your
this.
journey. I
You
appreciate
bet.
it. All right, you
Thanks,
guys
Ted.
reach out to Dr. Kris Sargent. Look at restoreyou.com. If you have any questions, you can reach her. And we will be back because we obviously have a lot to talk about. But you guys, if you're feeling it, reach out to Chris. I know you are. Don't think you're going it alone. And don't think that just because we're on StreamYard today together and it all looks pretty, that there's not a whole bunch of broken unpretty behind it. So we love you guys. Thank you, Chris, for being on the show. Appreciate you.
Thank
We'll
you
be
as
back
always.
soon, everybody. I'll be back. Bye.